Greetings, YouTube. The doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Shadowdark, and we have got ourselves a copy of the new Cursed Scroll Shadowdark Zine number 4, The River of Night, from Kelsey Dion's Shadowdark. So these products are starting to come out. I got this through my backer kit from the Shadowdark Western Reaches Kickstarter. So here it is right here. We're going to go over this. We're going to review it, all that stuff. Lots to go over, lots to talk about. Don't go anywhere and stay tuned. All right, before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment. Don't forget to share this video, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. All right, here it is. Another great cover from all of the different artists that work with Kelsey Dion here in Shadowdark. Let's make sure that we get the hand on here. And we do not want the AI assistant. And let's go to the credits here and make this a lot bigger so we can see it. And we got great cover art here by Yuri Perkowski Domingos. Awesome cover art. Very simple. You know, it's line and dot with green. It probably came black and white, but it got changed over to green. This is a jungle theme. The River of Night, there's a black river in a very thick jungle, and it has kind of this Aztec, Mayan, South American, Amazonian feel to it. And here we got the map, of course, and one of the things I do like about this is you get two versions of this PDF. One version is horizontal, and one version... So this map in the horizontal version would be flipped over. The other version of this PDF, the horizontal pages are automatically horizontal, so you can see these maps. And you can see these great hex maps that Kelsey Dion puts in for the different areas. These are all going to be in the Western Reaches campaign guide. So you see there's a volcano on this one with a river flow, or I'm sorry, a lava flow in 1405, where we've got the River of Night that's coming down, and all of these numbered hexes are points of interest, and they get explained in here. And then the other half of the map is here, more volcanoes and river flows and jungle and river and all that great stuff. But the meat and potatoes of this is the contents, of course. And generally, these zines... these Cursed Scroll zines, which are essentially magazines. They're short adventures. They have content in them. They're kind of like what Dragon Magazine and Dungeon Magazine used to be like, and I like that feel quite a bit. They come with a hex map. They come with a couple classes, some new titles, maybe a few weapons, some new spells, so some new things for players. And then there's a bunch of cool stuff for the Dungeon Master. So they've got the Black River. They've got an overview of it. They've got a hex crawling section, all of that. So we're going to go through a lot of this stuff today. So let's look at the classes. And of course, the interior art is very simple. It's very black and white, but it's not cutesy. There's not furries in it and all that other stupid bunk that comes in a lot of the new 2024 Dungeons & Dragons stuff. It is gritty. It is sword and sorcery. It is high magic. It's what I want in my game. So you can see here's a party. They are trying to take shelter under this tree. They got all their stuff. They're in the middle of the jungle, and there's something in that tree that is going to attack them. And so the first thing we get in here is the characters. And Kelsey, the layout of all of these pages are awesome. They're great. I like the way they do them, and it's very simple, and it's very straightforward. And they always come with these little blurbs of a character saying things. There is no place in this jungle that not has felt the passing of my feet, says Zemuel, the human ranger. So the first class we've got, again, great picture, awesome, is the Basilisk Warrior class. So let's zoom in on this a bit. And here it is, the Basilisk Warrior. It'll tell you what weapons they can use. So boomerang, club, dagger, spear, spear thrower. Can't use armor. 1d8 hit points. They've got Basilisk Blood, which gives them advantage on con checks to avoid harmful maladies, poisons, and inflictions like disease. The main shtick of these is they're a warrior class, but they've got this thing called the Petrifying Gaze. One creature of your level or less that meets your gaze must pass a DC 15 con check or be petrified for 1 to 4 rounds. It still takes damage as normal while petrified. So basically, the conditions could use a little bit more of an explanation in Shadowdark, but petrified is petrified. They're turned to stone for 1 to 4 rounds, meaning they're taken out of the combat. You can use this talent a number of times a day, equal to your con modifier, which is something that's new here, and I will probably take this and adapt it to some of the previous classes. And then they get Stone Skin, so add 2 plus half your level rounded down. So if you're 3rd level, that's a +1. If you're 4th level, that's a +2 to your AC if you are otherwise unarmored, and they can't use armor anyway. So, and then you have advantage to checks to hide in natural environments. And then there is the obligatory talent table that you get when you go up levels. So you can find a Basilisk Egg. You can get a bonus to attacks and damage with weapons. You can get a bump to your strength, dex, or con. You can get more uses of your Petrifying Gaze. Or you can choose a talent or get 2 points to distribute the way you want. All right, so the next class, and so a stone does not feel or bleed or die. So that's something the Basilisk Warriors say, apparently. Next class is the Ranger. Typically, Rangers haven't been great in a lot of games. This is pretty good. So they can use daggers, longbows, longswords, short bows, short swords, spears, and stabs. Leather armor and chainmail, no shields. 1d8 per level, and then they have advantage with these types of skills. There's really no skill checks in Shadowdark. You use an attribute and you do a thing with that attribute. So they would have advantage to those rolls. And their main shtick is, in addition to being a warrior that can use weapons, they can make potions or remedies out of herbs. So you make an in check to prepare herbal remedy. If you fail, you can't do it again until you use a successful rest. Unused remedies expire in 3 rounds, which means they got to be used pretty quickly. You can't save them up. And then there is a DC for each one. So we've got a salve, we've got a stimulant, we've got Phobane, which is probably the one that is going to get used the most. You get advantage on attack and damage against one creature type you choose for 1 to 6 rounds. Restorative ends 1 poison or disease, which this is something that's missing out of this game a lot. And then a potion of healing, which will be another one that gets used a lot. And then you've got your Ranger talent table. You deal a D12 damage with 1 weapon type. So you could be doing D12s with bows. You get a +1 to melee, or ranged attacks and damage. +2 to strength, dex, or intelligence, which goes along with your herbal remedies. You get advantage on herbal remedy checks for a remedy you choose, and choose a talent. So that's all great. There's a cool picture. So let's go back a bit. There's a cool picture. And we've got titles. This is just kind of for flavor, based off of what your alignment is. There's only 3 alignments in Shadowdark, although I have expanded this to 9. And then we've got some new weapons. We've got boomerang club, an obsidian club, an obsidian dagger, an obsidian spear, and a spear thrower. We've got some new properties because they're made out of obsidian. This weapon can break. There's finesse, so you can use strength or dex. There's returning, which is the boomerang. Spear throwing, when used to throw, increase the spear's range to far. And then thrown, you can use strength or dex. So some cool spells. We've got some new spells called druid spells, which are essentially just neutral wizards. So that's how Kelsey Dion is defining druids in Shadowdark. They are strictly neutral wizards. And they've got some spells which are very nature-y. Things like Instill, Oxidize, Whisper Wind, Mycelium, Summon Storm, Earthquake, things like that. We're not really going to go over all these. We're looking at the content of the book. And so now we go into the Game Master section of the book. And we've got an overview of the different civilizations there, the different kinds of terrain, how boats work, both rafts and canoes. Rafts, again, are logs put together. They can break. Canoes are actually one piece, and they can go pretty fast. But there's only certain people that can make these. So those are pretty cool. Difficult terrain is jungles and mountains. And then impassable terrain are, because there's some lava on here, is lava and rivers, unless you use a boat. Because the rivers, I imagine that I'm seeing the river as like a very wide, fast-moving Amazonian river, which is not easy to cross. Then we've got rumors. This is I love the tables for Shadowdark. And we've always got like rumors and points of interest and encounter tables. And they're always in here. So these are the Black River rumors. So maybe your heroes are they're in a city, in a civilization, and they hear a rumor about the Black River itself in some tavern, and you could, use these for that. You could insert these in basically any game that you've got. We've got some new rules for hex crawling. So hexes are 6 miles. PCs can enter a number of hexes per day based off of the travel method. So there it is, entering a hex. Walking, you can do 4 hexes a day. If you're mounted, you can do 6, and if you're sailing, you can do 8. But remember, difficult terrain requires 2 hexes to enter. So if you were walking through jungle, then you're using 2 hexes instead of 4 per day, or you're using twice as much instead of 4 per day. And there's a weather check, which I like, and that can reduce visibility and things like that. There's a section in here about water and food. PCs can go 3 days without consuming a ration. They take a D4 con damage per day after that. And a PC can forage for 1 ration per day with an in check, but she doesn't really say, but you could really kind of, as the GM, set what that difficulty is. And then there's some rules in here for pushing farther if you want to move. We've got our points of interest table. Always love the format for this, where you've got a descriptor, a location, and a feature. So you can essentially, you could have thousands of different combinations of these. Special interests. So these are all the different things that are within the Black River area. We've got Oba Ix, the Jaguar King. There's this Basilisk cult. There's a volcano that could erupt. Lots of different things. Some of these things could be on here. Some of these things could be in the rumors. It's basically up to you. And then we've got the keys to the hex areas, starting with 002 all the way to, I think it's 16, 17. And then these areas that have the little asterisks are actually mini dungeons. And here are the mini dungeons here. So she gives a dungeon, and it's a 1-page dungeon. Army ants. There's random encounters in the army ants. And it's a 2-page dungeon. Here's all the things that could be happening in there. Each room has a descriptor for it. And then we've got the Basilisk cult. So it's some kind of temple, a random encounter table. There's a basilisk egg in here. Here's the map. Here's the descriptor for all the rooms. Then we've got the Black Ziggurat. Again, it's a temple. We've got a random encounter. We've got a thing of interest here, a description of all the rooms. We've got the Chinachu or Chanachu, which is some kind of cave complex off a river. So number 2 is the Preening Scrandrill. And there's things there, and you can go through all that. And then the Eclipse Dial, the greatest weapon of the void, beings waits only for humanoid blood. Random encounters, our map, and our description. And these are fast and easy things to use. Flooded ruins, It is another ruined temple complex. We've got random encounters. We've got a special thing of interest, and we've got a description for all of the rooms here. And then I think finally the star, nope, we got a couple ones. The star map temple and descriptors, the black seed, the invading force of an otherworldly evil lurks inside the hideous towers. These are not keyed to any player levels either. So first level characters could come in here, they could get wiped out. It says at the bottom here for level 10. This one says for level 2. This one says for level 4. And they're written by different. Let me move over here. Baron Durop, if you know who he is. He has a YouTube channel. So I'm glad to see that Kelsey is grabbing some folks from outside. This one is a 7th level adventure. I'm going to guess because it's not written by somebody else. It's written by Kelsey. So we've got all of these different things here. Level 2, level 10. But of course, the characters will never know. They will never know what they're coming into. So they could come into this one at first level and get wiped out. And then we've got Sibalba, which is for level 5 characters. And a pretty cool picture of a statue here. And then we've got some new monsters. So we've got the giant anaconda, giant ant, a couple of different kinds of basilisk cultists, basilisk hatchlings, cobra statue, catfish, blue dart frog, some jaguar king. I don't think there's a special creature in this. Sometimes there's a special one. And finally, at the end, we've got our encounter tables here. So we've got special encounters up here at the top. So these are all different. The void beings, the red Maria, earthquake, things like that. So you would roll a d10 and you would look under here. Like if they were in the jungle, you would, like you got 6, you'd do a land encounter. And during the day, you'd roll a d8 and you'd get one of these things. At night, you would get one of these things. And then there's a cool treasure map leads to kind of another rumor table that's at the back of these. And I mean, the one thing I like about all of these is there are so many different tables, random encounter tables, hex random encounters here. I mean, there's literally hundreds of things that can pop up. And, you get a point of interest. You get a special one here, special one there. So you'd go over here, you'd go to a point of interest, and it would create something new. I like starting with the blank map. So let's go all the way back up to the actual maps themselves. I like kind of filling these out. She has a lot of points of interest on here already that she's done. But I might take this whole hex map and get rid of these and put whole new points of interest in here by just doing the random D6 on a 1 out of 6. There's a point of interest on there, and then I could populate that with monsters. And these can literally be used for months of play. All right, that is what I have for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.